Millions of years ago, an ancestral iguana species from mainland South America somehow made it to the volcanic island chain of the Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador. And over millions of years, this ancestral species evolved into a number of land iguana species found in the Galapagos today, and the unique marine iguana. In speaking of the characteristics of marine iguanas, it is important to recognize that there are a number of subspecies which are associated with specific islands in the Galapagos chain, and that there can be gender differences. In general, these are large lizards with males being larger than females, and males can weigh twice as much as females. The largest marine iguanas can have a body length without the tail of almost 2 feet, and then a tail length which can be 2.5 feet in length. Although, once again, some subspecies are smaller and females are small. They are black in color to provide camouflage on the black lava rocks on where they congregate, although they can have some brighter coloration, especially males during courtship. And the immatures have striping, which is evident. These lizards are unique among the lizards alive today in having adapted to a marine environment. Although they can feed on a number of invertebrates and some land plants, the overwhelming majority of their diet is the algae that they find either in the ocean or along the coastline, primarily green and red algae. There is also brown algae, which is abundant, but they cannot digest it. Their hindgut has been adapted to be able to feed on this algae, and they also have bacteria living in their intestines which help the process as well. Young iguanas feed at first on the feces of adults, and by this way they gather these symbiotic bacteria which will help them digest algae. Their adaptations for this lifestyle include strong claws, which allow them to cling to rocks, which is important given that waves can break over them, there are strong currents, and they may need to climb out of the water. And they possess a long, flattened tail, which they can use to propel them through the water as they swim. So if you were to swim or snorkel or scuba dive in the Galapagos Islands, you could see lizards swimming by you, and they can dive underwater in order to find the algae on which they will feed. Most dives are in shallower water, 15 feet or less, but they are known to dive as deep as almost 100 feet underwater. They can spend varying amounts of time underwater, 15 minutes to a half an hour, but they have been known to spend up to an hour. The larger males are capable of diving deeper and spending more time underwater. The smaller individuals and immatures are more likely to feed on the rocks near the shore. Even though they are commonly seen in the Galapagos Islands, they are considered a threat because they are only found here, and thus vulnerable to human disturbance of the environment, such as the introduction of feral cats and dogs, of oil spills, and their populations can dramatically decrease as the planet undergoes its oscillation between El Nino and La Nina years. El Nino years disrupt the currents which reach the Galapagos Islands, bringing the nutrients which nourish the algae. And so thus in El Nino years, the populations of green algae drop dramatically, and this can cause a mortality of up to 80% or more of the marine iguanas during those years. These videos were taken as the El Nino phenomenon of the previous several years was transitioning into La Nina, and thus these skeletons are the result of the high mortality of marine iguanas during El Nino years. Large iguanas, and males are typically larger, suffer a higher mortality because it is more difficult for them to find food.